Are there specific exercises, Melissa, that you lead the participants through in a typical
Yeah.
Alexander session?
Yes. What I'm really teaching people to do is to identify tension habits. So, what we look at in the Alexander technique is what are you doing to yourself to pull yourself in and down? And we really identify those habits. And those can be habits both, those can be habits not just of body, just not, maybe I'm a person who's up here all the time. This is not conducive to grounding and centering, right? There's also habits of mind that we look at. Can we really, as we go through our Alexander work, can we really stay open-minded and less judgmental and less pushy? As that A personality type, I'm really familiar with wanting to be perfect all the time. This did not serve me, and I like to work with my students not just on finding out and undoing what their physical tension habits are, but mental tension habits as well. And we engage in many different activities as we explore what we're doing both in our bodies and our mind. I can go into some of those if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
I think what I like to look at in the beginning, and this is typical Alexander work, is we'll really look in the beginning at typical daily activities like sitting, standing, walking. And we really try to see what are we doing when we're sitting, standing, and walking. And can I demonstrate this for you as I'm sitting in my chair? Because I think this is helpful. When people sit all day, they get very crunched and tense, right? People say they kind of slump in their chair like that, right?
Yes.
So that might feel okay for a little while, but actually over time, that's going to get really tight, right? And we don't want to be, imagine that on your feet. It would be something like, something like this. You can't be here and be free and grounded. I have a tight neck, my glutes are tight. These are the kinds of habits that really pull us out of alignment. So what we do in the beginning is I'm going to be asking you really how to find a way to sit without collapsing or, like we are taught to do in school, going military to have good posture. We really want to find a balanced, easy upright. And we'll work with, for example, one thing we start with is to sit. You take your hands and you find your two sit bones. If you don't know where they are, they're the knobby bones at the bottom of your pelvis. And if you place your hands under your glutes, sort of toward the back, you will feel them. And I want you to just find that bone because that's the rocker bone that your spine balances on. So from where you have your hands now, so you don't hurt yourself, you'll just take your hands out, let those bones spread, and see if you can find a little bit of balance rocking back and forth on those bones. So I don't want to sit on my tailbone, and I don't want to go military, push my chest forward and kind of sit on my thighs. I want to find those bones and sit on them. So as an example of coming out of tension and really beginning to find an easy upright, and I wouldn't expect anybody watching me in these 2 minutes to get this, but I'm just giving you an example of ways we can sit and get up and walk and move and come to standing that allow us to find an elongated spine, not a collapsed one. So we're looking to undo habitual tension patterns because, whether it's because we're imitating parents or we've gone through life and we just have stresses, we all pull in and down. And the Alexander technique allows us to undo the tension that creates that pulling down and to find a lovely way to sort of flow into length and width. And what is so critical about the work, I think, is there are modalities that teach us how to relax. I don't want you being collapsed going into trial. No. You need to unstiffen your habits. That's the first thing. Become aware of your tension habits. It's mostly body when we work, but I will keep you from getting too fixated and judgy as well, and remind you to be easy and exploratory through class. We want to undo tension habits, but not to collapse, to unstiffen into flow. And the way we find that flow is there's a specific thing that Alexander discovered. It's not an individual pattern. Initially, we're looking everyone It's really, everyone has tension patterns that are unique to them, but I can teach a group because they're really variations on a theme. But once we unstiffen those habits, simply by finding those sit bones and not being behind them or in front of them, but really letting that happen. Once we unstiffen our habits to find flow, there's a specific way we look at the relationship of the head, the neck, and the back, the whole spine. And we will work at ways of undoing patterns that we all share to some degree or another, so that we can find that expansiveness, that readiness, so that when you go on trial, you're not only undoing tension, but finding a real flow, a real expansion, a real kind of readiness to be there. And that kind of state where you're not up here, and once you're up here, how are you going to breathe? You know, and we will do a little work together with the lawyers on Alexander breath work, which is different. There's similarities, I think, with what they'll learn in the Linkletter work, but it is in its way just encouraging us to get out of the way and let the diaphragm work. We really want to see you undo whatever tension habits you have that impede breathing, as well as impede your basic use of yourself, the way you move through space.